Off the wee job here now, and I'll be using MAKEGOOD finish and their bonding as well. It's stipple sealants, and I bought and skimmed them. So I myself have had this stuff for a wee while. They've sent me out some samples to test just, and I've had a bit of an opportunity here now to give them a good test. So I'll give you my full and honest opinion and review after this job alone. I've seen myself a lot of mixed reviews, good and bad. So I'd like to see myself what way it's going to play out. So fingers crossed, guys. And like I say, during the video I'll be able to tell you more how I'm getting on and stuff, and I'll be able to, you know, like I say, give you my full honest review on it and what I think. But yeah, fingers crossed for you guys. Hope for the best. Wish me luck.
Here it is, the lovely stipple sealant. Very nice indeed. Sort of a swirly textured effect stipple. You get it with a bit of a rubber float. It's got like wee rubber bristles on it basically, and you twist that and pull it down. But this is what I gotta do, is get this smooth again, and like a nice smooth sealant ready for paint. And hopefully MAKEGOOD will help me out. A lot of cracks in it too. I'll re-scrim those and try and reduce them coming back again. And here we go, scraping time. So I know I love to scrape it down. If you're going to do it, make sure there's no artex in it. And if you're going to do it, make sure you PVA it right, guys. It's got to be done right. You don't want this sealant dropping down on you. So my PVA's took up nicely, nice and sticky. And it's ready for the bond coat. And MAKEGOOD bond coat here. And I probably would have preferred, in hindsight now looking back, just to have mixed it that tiny bit tighter. And it seems like it, doesn't take much water to get a good mix going. And you can see that's a big bucket. But it did spread well. It actually spread very well. That bucket did the big ceiling and this big long hallway. As you can see, my scrim's on, all taped up, trying to avoid anything re-cracking. And like I said, yes, it did spread very well, and it's different than any other bonding I've used. Obviously there's no vermiculite in this one, and it feels a bit more grainy and gritty. Feels nice and sticky as well. Not too bad when you're doing ceilings for sure. And would love to try it out on walls, especially bad walls. I think it'd be very good on bad walls for some reason. To me, don't know if you've all done tiling or anything, but to me it felt quite like a tile adhesive, which it's not a bad thing, as tile adhesives can be very strong. So imagine this stuff will set up nice and strong. And same tools, hawk and trowel, and I'm able to straighten it up a good bit here with the speed skim, which is always good as well. Just giving it full test, treating it like I would normal bonding and normal skin, giving it the full works. So I've been talking to Aaron, who works for MAKEGOOD, and I was asking him, would the half-time bonding and half-time plaster from Easy Mix work with your plaster? Would it set up your plasters quicker? Would it set up your bonding? And he says it will work. It will set it up quicker as well. So that's a wee bit of food for thought for you. As if you were doing patches or anything like that, you could get some packets from Easy Mix, and it'll get you away quicker. It'll set them off quicker. And also the same goes for if you were doing a big massive ceiling and you wanted that wee bit of extra pot life and stuff, you could mix in extra thyme as well, and it'll give you that bit more time to get it on. Although I found that this stuff has pretty good pot life of 40 minutes, so that's good for big areas.
So got the bond coat up, and as you've seen, straightened it, scraped, PVA'd, got it all on, straightened it up. I've actually brushed it, don't know if you can see that. Didn't brush the greatest sort of drying areas. The hallway actually brushed a wee bit better, so it did. Not sure you just can really make it out. But yes, this button is white. And my first impressions of it is I did like it, but it took me a wee bit of getting used to. First when I mixed it up, it wanted to have a lot of plaster on it, so it did. Sort of overflowed my big massive bucket there. I don't know what size the refina bucket is, so it was overflowed, and it feels very sticky. And instead of vermiculite in it, it seems to be sand in it. So if you ask me what it's made from, I would imagine there's lots of PVA in it, gypsum and grains of sand. Although it is nice and fluffy, I think it would be lovely on bad walls. Obviously, what I'm doing here is probably one of the harder things to bond skin. So it is. So let me just quickly talk about the bags. That's the material itself. So that's it on. I've got it all on. I'm happy it's straight enough. Maybe could have flattened it in a wee bit more, but I felt it pulling, so I didn't want to mess with it too much. Didn't want to break any bond in behind. So I'm happy enough. Hopefully the 2 coats of the skim now will get it in as a top class job. But let's just talk about the bags now. So the bag itself is like a plastic bag. Feels great to lift and stuff, doesn't feel like it's going to just burst open like a paper bag would. Although opening it, sort of have to give it a good pull, but I would recommend you just Stanley knife along the top and get them opened. But let's quickly read it here. So setting time 90 minutes. Undercoat and repair plaster ideal for filling deep cracks, chases or deep holes. Brickwork, blockwork. Dries white. It is white. I like this. Minimal shrinkage. That's good. So mix by hand or whisk. Clean. Pretty much very much the same. It does recommend 11mm thickness. It says if you have to go beyond 11, do it in 2 passes of 8mm, which is funny because I was talking to a subscriber and he said he had to go 12mm, and I said maybe do it, or 8mm, can't remember what it was, and I said do it in halves, build it up, so it just goes to show you. Setting times, it actually says in the back 90 to 120 minutes, which, so 2 hours. Working time, you've only got pot life of 60 minutes, but that's very good. Gives you plenty of time to get it on. It says it can be used as a 1 coat plaster as well, which is strange that you can polish it in. All timings and measurements are given approximate, so nothing set in stone with it. And then the health and safety stuff. It says so keep out of reach of children and animals. Dust may irritate the eyes, sensitive skin or respiratory system, so your lungs. Inhalation of the dust must be avoided, so don't breathe it in. The work area must be well ventilated or move to fresh air, so try and mix outside or keep all the windows and doors open. Wear a mask if you're sanding. Contact should be avoided with the eyes and skin. Suitable protection should be worn. So like I say in lots of other videos, use your dust mask, your goggles, your gloves, put your hood up, long sleeves. I've just took mine off because I'm roasting. Long sleeves, keep your skin protected. Basically all the usual. If something's irritating you, go to a doctor. Ingestion should be avoided, so try not to eat it.
If ingested, rinse your mouth with clean water and seek a doctor, seek medical advice. Vomiting should not be induced, so if you do happen to swallow a bit of it, or I don't know why somebody put it in your sandwich and you had it, don't be trying to make yourself sick. Go to the doctor first. I'm sure if they need to pump your stomach out, they will. Product manual handling. Always use the approved manual handling, so bend your knees. So that's the crack, guys. Just going to let this take up and stiffen right up before I get the skim coat on, which I'm sitting on here, just on the ground. It does say 17 litres of water, but I'm just going to mix it till it feels nice. Again, it's a 40 minutes pot life, so it's giving you an extra 10 minutes to play with it. Dries white. It's paintable. We're ready to paint in 2 days, which is good. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. But I would just be careful of telling people that as well. Maybe a bit longer, maybe better. But I think this has a lot more gypsum in it, so it will suck moisture in a lot more. But let's have a wee quick read of this one, sure, while we're waiting on the button to set up. They actually feel heavier than other bags, so maybe the other companies aren't putting 25 kilograms in their bags. So, usage timing, your first coat, wait 20-30 minutes, second coat it, wait 20-30 minutes, trowel it up, wait 20-30 minutes, final trowel. So apparently you're just troweling it twice. I think I'll give it three trowels. 20-30 minutes depending on background. Final trowel once colour has darkened, so it should darken up. Dry undercoats, use a suitable sealer and primer. Damp undercoats applied on the same day as the skim coat. So that's what we're doing here. We're using a damp undercoat and we're going to skim it the same day, so we're good. Plasterboard, re-skimming previous skimmed and painted surfaces. Use a suitable, so your PVA, you got a PVA. What I did here before I put my bonded on. Flat, smooth concrete, use a suitable primer first. Good luck with that, guys. Probably might want to bond and skim that, but surface area preparation. Make sure surface dry, solid, free from debris. So I'm gonna gradually add plaster into clean water. Build up 1mm coats, so don't put it on too thick. Apply 2nd 1mm coat once the first one's turned up. Now, this sealant here is not. I'm going to be going over 1mm on this sealant in my first coat, and then I'm going to try and get away with the last coat was a wee millimetre. Now that bonding sprayed it like a dream, so it did. Like it did seem like it was going to go really far, which it did. But I'll get back to you when I get this skim coat on here and see what I think of that. Hopefully it's not as sticky. Hopefully it's a bit more like gypsum plasters like Carlite and multi-skin. Fingers crossed anyway. I'll get back to this here. Let you see me coating it on and stuff and channel up. Fingers crossed this works for me, as I don't want to have to PVA all this and skim it again. So hopefully MAKEGOOD is good.
So guys, I really did make a bit of a blunder in my mix, as the skim coat's very similar to their bottom. It's slightly sticky and tacky, and feels quite like Noff and or plasterboard adhesive bonding compound, very gluey, if that makes any sense. If not, let me know in the comments. But yeah, felt nice enough, nice fine skim, but if I had to mix this stuff up with a bit more powder in it, I think it would have got better results. And I found myself, it was traveling up okay, but the way it seemed to go for me was that felt like it was hanging. Every time I touched it, it felt wet. It felt very wet. I probably should have, like I think I say in the video as well, that I probably should have went with something a wee bit smaller for a test, like the chimney rest or something. But the ceilings were priority as they're stipple. They needed bonded and skimmed, so I wanted to get them out of the way, and sort of just wanted to treat it like multi-skim or like carlite finish and carlite bonding and thistle bonding. So I was slightly just treating it too much like them. When I'm doing ceilings, I mix my stuff up wet enough, and I like to spread it really far. Now this stuff did spread really far as well, and you can see it's traveling up nice enough here. But the problem I found was that it just felt like it just hung around for way too long, and then when it started to set, I was trying to trowel it in, and I found myself with the steel trowel struggling slightly, and then I quickly changed my method to my Superflexes, and I really found the Refina Superflex 3 was brilliant on this stuff. To be honest, it pulled me out of a hole basically, because it's a bit rigid, but I was finding the steel trowel was pulling the shoulder and arm clean out of me. I wasn't able to get the cut on it, and it also felt like this stuff was setting from like sort of air setting, so where it had contact with air it was setting more than the back, so it was setting from the front to the back. I'm not 100% sure if that's right. I think it is, but that's how it felt anyway. And with the steel trowel, it felt like you were gonna almost make it slide slightly, but the stuff, when it was cutting into it, it definitely did. It felt very hard on the arms, so that's why I jumped on the Superflex. I do think they actually, I read through their MAKEGOOD's sort of plan on it, what way to go about things, and believe it or not, they recommend you get it all as flat as possible and use your steel trowel to start, and then when it starts stiffening up, you get onto the flexies. So this is what I was saying about the Refina Superflex 3. It is a stiffer blade than its other Superflexes, and I found that it was taking the strain out of my arm, but still giving me that lovely cut, which I really desperately needed at this stage. If it hadn't been for this, I would have had to basically pick one of the ceilings to try and save, and I had to go and redo one the next day. And you can sort of see that by the rooms there how dark it's got here as well. Like I said, it's a family's member's job here, so getting a bit of a trial run with this new plaster. But definitely if you're gonna use MAKEGOOD, you gotta have Superflex trowels, and possibly the one I'm using now, and then an even more flexible one like the Refina Superflex 1, or the Ox Ultra Flex, or Neela or Marshalltown. They're pretty flexible as well, but yeah, it didn't come in too bad. I'll show you a wee clip here shortly of the next day, and again it is a different plaster altogether. Even the fact that it's white can sort of play with you're used to looking at stuff turning from pink to brown or from grey to brown, so it does sort of play with you a wee bit in your mind as well. Right, so guys, that's the ceiling. It looks well dried out for bottom skin, but maybe still some moisture in it. See how it goes on the rest of the day, if it dries out any further. Still a couple of wee blemishes, some need to tidy up, but I did struggle on that ceiling. I did struggle.
pulled the arms out of me, not gonna lie. Found it tough going. Same as this hallway ceiling here. Couple of wee blemishes in it, to be honest as well. Stuff just felt like it was hanging around, and then bang, just sort of tightened. I'm gonna try one more wall here and see how I get on with it. There's only really one wall left to go anyway, and see how it goes. So fingers crossed.
So obviously with the ceiling, the day before did the two ceilings there, bonded and skimmed in with the MAKEGOOD plaster, and when I was struggling at the end and stuff, I definitely put it in my mind that I had completely mixed it up wrong, that I just went too wet, and possibly again should have went for the refina superflex that bit earlier as well. May have saved my arms a wee bit, but after touching up the ceiling and just sort of taking out any wee blemishes in that there, it's paintable. But definitely different plaster, you know, keep saying that. You can see I'm wetting this thing up loads as it's starting to take up. So the way I did this wall, and I'll talk about it, I'll give you a bit of a review at the end and stuff, and things that I felt I learned just over the day and a half really of using it. And on this wall in particular, I mixed up a stiff batch, threw it all on, let it sit, ran around doing patches, and then mixed up another stiffish batch, but just slightly looser as well, because I wanted the first one to pull in. And so about 30 minutes later, threw on my second coat. And again, the more, I'm sure the more we'd get used to this product, the quicker I could maybe even double coat walls and stuff with the same mix. That obviously would need to test it more and more myself, but definitely found this tactic went a lot better for me with the two stiffer mixes, letting the first one pull in and then hitting it with the second coat. I straight away give it all a wee flattening and cleaned my angles down, and then I left it for another good 20-30 minutes, then hit another trowel, a wet trowel this time with a steel, and then I noticed it really started picking up then, and I was able to hit it with this trowel, what I'm doing now, with plenty of water, and it was definitely pulling in better. You just cleaning the angles and stuff as it go constantly. It's also strange to look at this plaster, because normally ceilings that are done a day before would be completely brown, but this looks like it's been completely dried out for 3-4 weeks. So it's funny on the eyes, and even that alone would take a wee bit of getting used to that way. So I found that very interesting, just the colour. But I do think the colour looks good. I also think the colour might actually show up holes and stuff that when multi-skim and Carlight's brown, you might not just see them until they're drying out. And when it's colouring as well, that's when you really gotta get on it. It's sort of slightly, I wouldn't say it browns, but it like sort of turns like a dark yellowy colour, and you can see the change in it. It's a bit like when you're doing your multi-skim or your thistle multi-skim, that it starts to pepper and turn brown, and that's when you know it's time for your superflexes. This is very much the same, and you want to get on to it with, well, I put plenty of water on, so it is. So you can see I'm getting decent results with the refina superflex 3. And again, I was panicking with this wall because my beads were quite heavy. Window wall beads tend to be a bit heavier, especially when you stick them on, they can sit out a wee bit, and you know, I was sort of concerned that it might go funny and stuff on me. You can see the top right there, actually, the way I was saying about peppering and changing colour slightly. But yeah, like I said, I was slightly concerned about the depth it was going, as I know it sort of says in some places make good skim 1mm and then 1mm, but I really mixed this up tight, so tight that the bucket was nearly spinning round. So any plasters and stuff out there, even DIYers who's mixed the bucket like that, they'll sort of have an idea of what I'm talking about there. It's something you don't particularly want to happen. It's not so bad with cordless, but with a drill with a lead, that would be a sure fast way to snap the lead, and you would end up with a useless drill. But even the reveals were quite heavy. I did scratch the head with Ballman the day before, so it wasn't too bad, as Ragni's reveals had a gloss coat on them, so it was a bit of a nightmare if I didn't get a bit of a scratch on them, because they'll have zero suction, and I did PVA this wall previous to, so some of you might understand what would happen there if you went too early and stuff with sliding. This is the end results. So wee tiny bit of shine on the ceiling there. I wasn't trying to polish it up or anything, and I think the wall came in really well, especially compared to the ceiling. Actually, the way I went about this wall, could have threw on 3 walls possibly and been well under control with them.
So that's 2 days done using MAKEGOOD. And I think I might have mentioned at the start that it was for a family member's house. Didn't want to try out a new product in somebody's client's house, in a customer's house. So we did over the stipple ceilings and bonded and skimmed them, and then skimmed the window wall there as well with beads. I'll try and put the footage on here as I speak as well. And the first day it was 100% our mistake. The stuff's very gooey, very sticky, so what you're going to want to do is make sure if you're using it, take my advice right now, mix it up tighter than what you think. It's very sticky. So what I was finding was the drill was finding it obviously struggling a bit more because the stuff was stickier, kind of like dab, or if anybody's ever used that Knauf, K-N-U-A-F, a German plaster, Knauf MP plaster, I think it's like machine plaster. It's very similar to that, maybe a wee bit more sticky, like plasterboard adhesive, gooey, sticky like that. So if they're watching this video, it would be great if they could just take that away a wee bit, take that gooiness away a wee bit if possible, because I think it would just be that little bit easier to judge when you're mixing, and maybe slightly easier to apply, but it does seem like a right fine product. I think it's going to be really good for patching. It's very fine grain in it. But what I found is, in the second day, far happier with the result, and I probably should have tried something smaller. Just like, look at the size of the ceiling. I did try quite a big hit, big enough ceiling and a big long hallway. Nothing. You know, if it was normal stuff that I was using constant, yes, no problem. But the fact that I was trying something new, I maybe should have tried something smaller. I usually do. You always watch me. I'm using drills and testing out tools and stuff. I always go a smaller bucket or smaller mix. But it is what it is. I tried to run before I could walk. Now, that being said, the ceilings, even the next day, they're still a wee bit greasy, and I was still able to fill in, and if there was any lines left, I was still able to trowel them out, so that wasn't a big major issue that way. So, but it did take me, we did strip wallpaper and stuff, so I was already a wee bit tired, but I was very tired by the end of the night getting it on and getting the timings. So my advice to anybody going to use MAKEGOOD is definitely get it on as neat as possible. For me, I didn't use too much water in my first trowel, and I just really cleaned my angle on the wall, for instance. And now the wall I mixed far stiffer. I put a coat on it. Then I ran about doing patches, and that gave me about 20-30 minutes. Then I mixed up another stiffish batch and give it a second coat. So then I left that another 20-30 minutes. Once that it's hard to judge. It doesn't seem like it's tightening up. It doesn't seem like that whatsoever, but I still troweled it, cleaned my angles, and I troweled it all in, trying to take out as many lines as possible, especially because I'm doing it with the wall, so it's quite heavy. Getting all my lines in, no holes, making sure it's straight and in shape. And then what I was doing was I was giving it another bit of time, and then again I got onto it a wet trowel, but this time a wee bit more water. Flicked a wee bit of water on, give it a bit of a better trowel again. And then as it was picking up, you could see it colouring. Then you gotta get plenty of water on it. For me, it was plenty of water on it, and give it a good cut. With the trowel, make sure again trying to finish it as you go. And after that, it was just a wet flexi trowel. You might find even with your third trowel you'll be straight on to a flexi trowel, because what I was finding was it felt like it was setting from the surface back, from like an air set back, so almost like the surface was setting just a bit quicker. But to me, when it starts to colour, it's really going to go off. It's really going to go off in my opinion, and that's why you want the flexi trowels, because what I found on the scenes was really pulling the arms out of me trying to get it in. I really did struggle, but again, I think if I had mixed it up tighter, it would have been on neater from the get-go, and it would have set nicer for me. I probably would have been able to judge it quicker. Again, maybe I should have looked at the tutorials. I didn't bother. MAKEGOOD sent me out some stuff to test out, and I tested it and thought I'll just go it my way. I'll go with my instincts of how I feeling things were going and not going, and that. Now I have been talking to one of their guys who is, I think he's helped design in this stuff. Arn, I think his name was, sound guy. Real nice guy, and he was saying what I could have did with the scene was mix some skimming with it and actually in with the bonding and just finished it off one go. I would love to try that out somewhere, so I might test that out. Still have some product left. But again, in this particular house, I have a bit of a get out of jail free card, because it's a family member, so hopefully they won't be too cross at me. But no, everything's good now. Paintable, sorry. Much happier with mixing it tighter. Definitely much happier. Everything went far better. I mixed it up the way I would mix skim. Usually I like my skim probably be too wet for some plasters and perfect for others, but I do like, you can see it in the channel if you look through, I like mine nice and spreadable, same as my bonding when I'm going over it, and it always sets nice for me in that routine. So don't be thinking that this is the same as your skim, your carlite or your thistle, your carlite bonding or your thistle bonding. It's just a different thing. The bonding, like I said, I think I said it in a previous video, it feels like there's sand in it. It's very gritty. There's no vermiculite in it, but it did feel nice stuff. Again, a bit stickier than bonding, slightly stickier. Bonding can be quite sticky too. So, you know, the bags, again, I think their bags are slightly better. Just be careful if somebody's pouring them in, they seem to tangle. They can tangle on the whisk, so a bit of a safety thing, be careful of that. But it does say on the thing to add it up slowly, mix it up slowly, don't try and do it all in one go. So it's not, it did get it in, but like I say, don't be putting, when you're using this, treat it as something completely different, because it is different. The end result will be the same, a paintable smooth wall, but it's not the same as carlite or multi-skim. To me, them two are very, very close in comparison. This to me is a bit closer to North. I know a guy who, sound guy actually, and he said that North, they did a house before and the next day you could still trowel it up. This stuff seems similar to that there, where I was still able to cut into my ceiling and all, and it actually even felt easier to trowel today than it was last night, but then maybe I was just shattered. I was there quite late last night. So I can't really think there's too much more to say about it. Again, Superflex 3 really stood out for me on this to help me finish it, because it had a wee bit of stiffness on it, but it took the strain out of my arm, you know. The muscles weren't as tired, so a refina Superflex 3 might go a long way for you on this product. Again, makes it tighter. Not too tight where you can't spread it like a brick, but makes it really stiff. Get on your first coat, let that pick up a good half hour, get another fresher coat on top of that, keep your first coat flat, maybe give it a quick flatten, get your next coat on, and wash everything up, give it a wee light trowel, clean your edges, your angles, and your beads, whatever, and then again, half an hour later, give it another wet trowel. And you probably need another wet trowel, possibly with the Superflex at this stage, but you will want to get onto it, especially when it starts. And when you see it turning, you gotta get onto it because it's gonna go. But after it goes, like I say, you can still polish it up and play with it a wee bit. It seems to come back to life, and apparently you can paint this stuff in 2 days' time. And the ceiling I did, I think I sort of probably will have to leave it 4 days possibly and let it dry out a bit. But yeah, if there's any other questions, guys, and I can't answer them, I will. Will I use it again? I'm not going to jump straight into a customer's job with it, but hopefully there's a big 15 board ceiling, quite a big ceiling, 15 boards of 8x4, so we just can work out the area of that, and I might give it a quick skim. Again, this will be for a family member, so it's not, you know, it won't be as critical, but I will try my best to get it all on neat, mix it up tighter. Again, this is straight on the plasterboard. It does say in the bags to seal the plasterboard, but I've been told that's nonsense, and I did a wee test in the house as well with a wee corner bit that was plasterboard, and I put a wee sample bit down a bit of a scrap of the board, and it set lovely. The next day I scraped it and I pulled all the paper off of it, so it's going to bond lovely to your new fresh plasterboard. Not a problem, not an issue there. I don't see any issues there. And I'm told this will set stronger than your normal skim, so possibly if you're doing a hallway, this might be the stuff that you might want to get onto instead, and might be a bit more durable. Again, any questions, guys, I will definitely answer them, and hopefully I'll have more videos to come with it, and maybe a couple of wee samples and stuff as I have in mind, but again, future videos. But yeah, good luck, guys, whatever product you're using, and keep on troweling.